Okay, so we're glad to have you join us on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. It's 18 minutes past 9 a.m. We are saying welcome to the Polity on the seriously authentic dial, transmitting from Onitsha, the commercial now center of Anambra State. Good morning once more, and thank you for being there always. It's Tuesday, 26th day of May 2026, and tomorrow is going to be Children's Day. And of course, you know that tomorrow we are going to have our Children's Day event here, where pupils from different primary schools are going to join us on the program, and it promises to be exciting. But now, let's talk about governance, politics, and the issues affecting the nation as they are captured by various newspapers. Because we know that the media is the conscience of the society, so on daily basis they get to capture all these developments in our polity and bring them before us. For us to ponder on and of course make input on how we can make Nigeria better. So if you are ready for this very morning conversation, let's get to hit it. Okay, just to remind you that we are live on our Facebook page, Udala Radio 104.7 FM. You can watch the video to see the proceedings from the studio here. We are also live on our YouTube and Instagram handles, Udala Radio. Get on those platforms and be interactive. You can share your views on those platforms. And of course, we are going to acknowledge them at the right time. And this very morning on the Polity, my name is Franklin Ebuka. You are going to hear from Tunoli Sambeki in a moment. But for now, I have with me in the studio Uzoma Nieto. Of course, he is a creative and a public affairs analyst. In fact, should I call him a potpourri? Let me use that very well. All right. Good morning, Z. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to you. Happy to be here again.
Okay, so we are going to bring you up to speed with some developments in the polity, because a lot are in the news this very morning. Here in Anambra State, people of Ogidi are in the news because they have sent a cry for help to the governor of Anambra State to come to their aid, because there's now a lake at Ukwoji Ogidi where if you are going to pass through the old Enugu-Onitsha road, you are going to meet a lake there. And for ages, or let's say for years, the people of the area, they have battled this, and there seems to be no hope inside. Yesterday, we saw them going on protest. In fact, many of them knelt inside the floodwater to ask Mr. Governor to come to their aid. Aside that, we now have the result for Anambra North Senatorial primary election for APGA. Yesterday, we were having different results regarding who emerged the winner, but now it's now clear that Senator Stella Oduah got APGA tickets for that very senatorial zone. So it's going to be a match between her and others who are going to emerge from other parties. So we'll look up to this and see how it's going to happen. Then yesterday, governor, or not governor this time around, FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, he spoke on why Sim Fubara withdrew from Rivers State governorship race under the APC, and he said it was part of the pact or part of the arrangement they reached when Mr. President settled their political difference in Rivers State. According to him, it was agreed that he won't go for second term so that the State House will not go ahead with the impeachment plot they had against him. At the national level, yes, there was the primary election for ADC, and guess what? The big weights, they were all out there testing their mettle or testing their popularity. We talk about Atiku Abubakar, Rotimi Amechi, Hayatu. They were all there trying to see who is going to pick ticket of the ADC for the presidency. And guess what? I saw primary election in Abia State. In Anambra State, I don't know where it happened, whether it actually happened or not, or whether ADC died naturally in Anambra State. Then talk about what happened in Oyo State, the kidnap. We understand that Oyo State is now under pressure on whether to pay ransom for the release of those very school children or not. And Sundibo, he's also talking, saying that he's waiting for the federal government to grant him, license for him to, launch his security initiative so that he can help to fight insecurity in southwest Nigeria. And then the last story I'm going to highlight before we get to the headlines is INEC going to the court to appeal That Federal High Court judgment which voided timelines for 2027 polls. We talked about it last week, and we talked about the possibility that the INEC is likely to appeal that very judgment. And now INEC has gone to appeal court and even filed a stay of execution on that very court judgment. And also, Nigeria yesterday recorded an improvement in GDP, because it's recorded 3.81% in GDP growth. That was according to record which was put out by MBS yesterday. But what does that mean to Nigerians who are seeing the cost of living increasing on a daily basis? All this and more you are going to see by the time we get to bring the headlines this very morning on this platform. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Okay, so before we bring the headlines, just to let you know that Tony Lisambeki is in the building to bring the analysis. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning to you, Franklin Chukwebuka and Ozi and Yeto, of course. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning, in the Anambra. Good morning, in Doni Chadoni Do. Good morning, in the Osimo. Good morning, in the Afia, in the Oloibo, in the Nkuzi. Ndolubo, commuters, artisans, everyone. In fact, we can go on and name all of you. Senior citizens and those who are physically challenged, but they have ability in mind, ability in soul, ability in body as well. We respect our senior citizens, our elderly, the elders, and we are saying good morning to everyone. Of course, today is another day for us to talk about politics, and today being the 26th day in the month of May, the year 2026, wherever you are listening to us from. You're welcome. We're back in our sanctuary, the sanctuary of the Most High. We are back here to perfect the truth the way it will not please you. For those who would want to hear what will please them, here may not be the platform, because I was going to say things the way it will not please you, because I'm going to be balanced, fair, and ensure that every side to every issue they are represented. And we thank God Almighty for His mercy, for His grace, for His love, for His kindness, for all He has been doing for us, for seeing another day, the miracle of waking up every morning. And we are seeing that again and yet again. It keeps coming. We say, oh, glory be to Almighty God. You're welcome. Just sit back and enjoy the program. Do not go anywhere.
Okay, so we're going to begin with the headlines we have on the paper this very morning. Don't forget that you are listening to the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM on HR. So this morning, 4 papers for a review. And we'll begin with the headlines we have on the Nation newspaper. The big story there says INEC appeals verdict voiding timeline on party register. Electoral agency asks court for stay of execution. You can see that story on page 3. Also on page 3, article leads Amechi Hayatuddin in ADC shadow election. Then, above the nameplate, why court favors DSS in defamatory suit against Serap on page 20. Money Point Group launches 3 billion naira innovation hubs in varsities on page 8. 1.5 million pilgrims kick off Hajj on Mount Arafat on page 27. Wike knocks Fubara for picking nomination form on page 8 of the Nation newspaper. Nigeria, Turkey seal deal on solid minerals. You can see that on front page of the Nation. APC begins post-primary poll reconciliation. It's also on the front page. Kwara to deploy drones against bandit terrorists on page 28. Federal government declares Wednesday, Thursday as Eid holidays on page 6 of the Nation newspaper. And we cross over to the Vanguard. On Vanguard, the big story says 2027 presidency, opposition parties in disarray as factional candidates emerge on page 5. The riders SDP, ADC, PDP caught in the web. Result of PRP, ADC primaries ready today. Atiku favor to pick ADC ticket, gets endorsement from state. Oyo school kidnap. Government under pressure as abductors demand ransom on page 10. And it has a rider that says, we won't spare resources to rescue victims. Makinde, family of beheaded teacher, demands recovery of body. On page 33, FG declares Wednesday, Thursday public holidays. And then on page 8, Pope apologizes for Vatican's role in justifying slavery. NCAA airline operators bicker over debt on page 8. INEC appeals judgment voiding timelines for 2027 polls on page 9 of Vanguard newspaper. Nigeria GDP growth rises 3.89% in first quarter of 2026 on page 19. Warri constituency delineation. Thugs attack protesting Shekiri youths at INEC headquarters on page 7. I don't know when this is going to end, because since last year, a bit 2 years ago, when INEC began the delineation process, it's been protests here and there. People have been kicking against INEC move, but INEC had gone ahead to do that, and it's not ending anytime soon. Also on the front page of Vanguard on page 14, intervening mass killings of Nigerians rather than rhetorics. PFN tells FG. That's on page 14 of the Vanguard newspaper. Then on the front page of the Punch, Fubara's exit from governorship race aligns with Peace Pact. Wike on page 16. Eid, FG declares holidays, steps up security nationwide on page 12. Dangote faces price war as NNPC backs fuel imports on page 12. The riders say NNPC urges court to dismiss Dangote's suit. Marketers back competition, warn against monopoly risk. Refinery says import licenses undermine local production. These are the stories we are going to read under that major headline. INEC appeals ruling voiding primaries on page 18. FG cancels $717 million World Bank power loan amid blackouts on page 33. Southwest insecurity, Iboho awaits FG not to launch outfit on page 12. My brother's beheading haunts me daily, or your teacher has sibling on page 3. Bandits kidnap Kwara Monarch's family. Attack police station on page 12 of the Punch. And we cross over to the final paper we have this morning, which is the Guardian newspaper. The big story says court ruling. INEC's appeal leaves opposition aggrieved politicians in limbo on page 6. Ide Kabiru military assures residents of safety amid Boko Haram ISWAP attack fears on page 9. AON debunks owing NCAA 6 end to airfares airlines collection of 5% TSC on page 22. Hajj Nigerians move to Arafat as unrest high fuel costs push RAM prices to 1.2 million naira on page 13. Can you believe that? RAM 1.2 million, RAM that was purchased for 13,000 about 16 years ago. Big one, 20 something thousand, 30,000 naira now. Talking about a RAM for 1.2 million naira. Jesus wept. Okay, then this one says NISA predicts 5.02% GDP growth, single digit inflation rate by 2028 on page 8. That's Traore's military alternative to flawed democracy on page 36. And this one says opposition says Tinubu's 10.9 million votes claim doesn't reflect political reality on page 3. Nigeria's economy grows 3.89% in first quarter as electricity contracts by 15.3% on page 10. Nigeria signs MOU with Turkey for solid minerals development on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. And these are the headlines we have this very morning for us to look at. So we believe that you are following us, so that we are going to get into the analysis this very morning. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, you are tuned to Udala Radio 104.7 FM and you are listening to the Polity. My name is Franklin Ebuka, Tony Lisambeki and Uziomane. Today are on the analysis day this very morning, and we are going to begin now to talk about development. So let's begin from home now, because the security begins at home, and the two things are standing this very morning. One is the flood incidents at Ogidi Ukwoji, between Ukwoji and the St. Monica's bus stop. Anybody who is familiar with that very road, talking about the old Enugu Onitsha road, if you go there now, because there was rain, that was 2 days ago, you will see the amount of flood there. And yesterday, people of Ogidi, led by their youth, they went on a protest, or should I call that an appeal march, where they appealed to the government of Anambra State to come to their aid, because according to them, the palace of their monarch has been overtaken by flood, and they are asking who is going to be the next victim of the flood. So, Tony, at this point in time, what is required? Because I went into the archive to see that the governor of Anambra State was there 32 weeks ago, where he saw things by himself, and he said that the government was going to do something. 32 weeks ago, if you break it down, it's about 8 months. That means it was in the past rainy season, and now we are into another season. It's the same story, people making an appeal. This time around, what should change?
Well, the government is there to ensure the welfare of the people, and the welfare of the people remains the paramount responsibility of government. We are aware of the provisions of Section 14, subsection 2B of the 1999 Constitution as amended, and that forms part of the welfare of the people. When you provide infrastructure, when you ensure that the people or the people's welfare is well taken care of. That very area in Ogidi, we know, is along maybe what we usually call the road, Old Onitsha Enugu Road, or Old Onitsha Oka Road, or what people call Old Road. If you follow through, once you get to a particular point around Ogidi, we understand there is a what we call I don't want to call it tributary, but the point remains that there is a kind of lake around that area. And I have made research, and I was told that it was artificially created. It was artificially created because of issue of land, or as a result of land dispute between Ogidi and Ogbunike. As I was told, I can't confirm that. And because of that land dispute, it was a way to frustrate anybody making plans to take ownership of the such land. And it was indeed something they created. But now it has turned out to be a monster, year after year. You recall there is this River that trickles down from Omombala Axis down to Orasokija. Yes, because if you go to Alo, even there are places around Uke, this river, pushes down. They are everywhere. If you could recall, there is also this river. If you are heading to, is it Oruku? If I can recall, if you're heading to Oruku, there is also another river. There is the one they call Mirijon. That one, you can also cite it somewhere at Ojoto. In the same river we're talking about, right from Ezu down to Oras, from Oras to Oguta. Oguta Lake, from Oguta Lake to Atlantic Ocean. That's the pathway. But I don't know how this gets into the pathway, and it has formed the pathway of such movement. Now, having established how probably it started and what informed what we have presently, government should step in. I remember during the time of Governor Willie Obiano, there was attempt. What they did was to build embankments so that it would prevent the river from flooding the road. But that didn't work. I don't know the engineer that advised that. It didn't work. For me, what would work would be underground channel or underground tunnel. That's what would work. Where there will be a big tunnel deep beneath the road in a way that it can convey water from one side of the road to the other side, because the water is on its progressive move, is going to take money. But state government for sure is capable. You mentioned that the governor was there 8 months ago and he hasn't done anything. You may forgive him for one thing. Probably government was coming to the end, the need to set up a new government and stuff like that. Because as we speak now, he just appointed a new commissioner for works. The one who was there was not reappointed. But there are things that government should take expedite action, speedy action. We know very well that we would not have allowed this to see another rainy season, owing to the fact of the consequential effect it's going to have on communities around that area. I'm advising the government to just do as much as possible within possible time to see to the construction. I'm not an engineer, but I have thought that the best that could work there will be underground tunnel that will convey water from one side of the road to the other, because that water is on a movement. It keeps going down from, just like I mentioned before, it gets to Alo, from Alo to Nobi, from Nobi to Okeja, from Okeja to Oguta, from Oguta down to Atlantic Ocean. That's what it is. Okay, so Oziam, I will come to you, but this time around I want to know what is going to take to the two areas to the two parties to deal with it. But let's listen to this first.
Supporter now affect these 3 towns, these 3 villages, Ire, Abo, Nezi Ogidi.
Okay, allo le aware mirror the drainage of man. Solution is better, and we must find a solution. Before I became governor, now my manifesto, I identified the environment as our #1 existential threat. Flooding and gully erosion. I did make this point that people are building roads, putting drainages, but without termination points. And so water must find somewhere to go. But you must also then have the tea, after every maybe 500 meters or so, a tea, which is desilted every year, so that the speed in water Jiabia will be slowed down. These are things community can do. And the thing I can say to you, Bona, I am here now. It's a very expensive project.
Second Niger Bridge.
Okay, so we're going to take it at this very point. At least you heard the governor. You also heard the complaint which was led to him. That was 32 weeks ago, and he acknowledged that it's a big project, it's going to cost money, and also there's a responsibility expected from the community. So at this point, with the way it is now, from what I saw yesterday, how the youth went on appeal, went on protest, and it was everywhere on the social media. What is needed from the part of the government, and what is needed from the part of the community for this thing to be addressed once and for all? Because I even learned yesterday that there is this inner road that people used to bypass that very flooded day. It was blocked yesterday by people of Ogidi, saying that nobody should use that again. Everybody should go and the Tokele, not the flood.
Okay, thank you so much. This particular area, you're just talking about my home. From there, if you throw a stone, you get to my house. I'm from Umunnachi. Okay, yes. And from that area, that's around the Ebenezer Church. If you scream, my kindreds will come out from there. So, this particular place didn't start today. This problem is as old as I am. In fact, older than myself, because my mother went to St. Monica Zogidi, Obunike. And when I asked her, she said that when they were young, my mother is 77 now, that when they were young, this place will always be a problem. When we were young, during rainy season, when you get to that particular spot, you find cars getting stuck in that area. In fact, at a point, we started accusing people living around that place that they make business out of it, because once your car gets stuck, you pay them to push it out. So looking at it and getting old enough to understand that this is something that always is a routine problem we have every rainy season, I looked at it from the eyes of the normal person, and I found out that for anything to be done about that, because like he mentioned, when Willie Obiano did what he did on that particular road, we thought that maybe it's going to work. But over time, we found out that it did not. It's absolutely not a solution to that particular issue. So looking at it, I know that one of the problems the government will have is that Ogidi is, will I use the word, semi-rural area. It's not urban area, the planning, people having their lands and every other thing. And things like this, when you want to plan for it, like he said, the tunnel, you have to, some of the houses should fall. There are issues, there are community issues that should be considered, because like I heard the government saying about the tunnels, two or whatever he called it, that will slow the pace of the flood. Where are you going to create it around that area? That particular area is now developed. You have people's building around, just directly opposite it. And so I believe that is something the government should sit down with the community, and the people should make sacrifices, because for that thing to be solved, I foresee where certain sacrifices will be made. And when I say sacrifices, it means maybe some houses giving way for the flood, because water must always find its level. Water must always, and once you're blocking it from where it's channel, it will cause that kind of a problem.
Okay, so what about the issue of land in this very case? Because we also have that there's issue about land, and with the way it is now, it means that there must be certain concessions for that to happen. I mean, for us to find solution to that.
Yeah, you look at the government, the land, every land belongs to the government. Every land belongs to the government, and the government should be compassionate. If it is something that needs people to be, settled for them to give whatever. You know what I mean? When I'm saying this because I try not to be insensitive to the people affected, but this is a problem, and if you want to solve a problem, you should overlook a lot of sentiments. So government, I believe, have what it takes to maybe resettle people, or take over the land and find a solution, because if nothing is done now, every passing year it gets more difficult. The population increases, the urbanization goes in there, and you find out that if you don't treat it now, next government will still have this issue. This will be a continuous conversation.
Okay, so let's talk about politics now in Anambra State, because it's now clear that the former aviation minister Stella Oduah has been declared the winner of APGA Senatorial primary election for Anambra North Senatorial District. And I must say that with that declaration yesterday, it has brought to an end days of, should I say, tension and uncertainty that had through that very exercise. The primary election was held on Saturday. By Sunday, we are thinking we are going to see the result. Likewise, Monday, but that didn't happen. We began to, see different results being circulated on the social media. At a point in time, the camp of Chief Primus Odili, was claiming victory and what have you. But this day, it became clear because the result was announced by the returning officer, Barrister Maxwell Udechukwu, and it happened here in Onitsha North government. That was where it was announced. At the end of the day, it was declared that Oduah polled the 22,076 votes for her to emerge victorious, and the person that came second is Chief Primus Odili, who scored 19,847 votes. Then Chief Emeka John Okechukwu scored 7,570 votes, while Alex Obiobolu polled 6,945 votes. I have seen the reaction of Alex Obiobolu. I haven't seen the reaction of Chief Primus Odili, like was Chief John Okechukwu. But so far, the camp of Oduah, is already smiling because they believe that she was the best fit for that very position. So, Tony, what kind of closure do you think that this very result brings? Do you think that the party will be able to close the ranks that seems to have been divided to an extent based on how the primaries played out?
Well, just like we discussed yesterday, we did extensive analysis. One of the things we said was the idea that party is supreme. It has always been stated that the party is supreme. I also say that I listened to letter written by Honorable Ifeanyi Bezim, where in that letter he made it known that he was still aligned with the interest of the party, even when everyone thought that it was going to defect another party and possibly vie for the same position under a new platform or another platform for whatever reason. But that did not happen. Aside that, We have different issues emanating as a result of this contestation. We have about 4 of them. We have, if I'm not mistaken, John Emeka, Primus Odele, Dr. Alex Opiobolu, and Stella Oduah. These are 4 people that contested. Well, 4 of them, they are eminently qualified. There is no doubt. I think Stella Oduah, she has been there as a senator representing Anambra North. Fine and good. Given, we have Primus Odele, who was APGA candidate during the last general election. He lost to Senator Tony Nwoye. And you are going to talk about the former deputy governor, who also joined the ranks. And Dr. Alex Opiobolu, who had been contested for governorship over time, but this time around he decided to test the water in that area. He is not somebody who is new in politics. He's a veteran as far as politics is concerned. But this could be, I don't know if this was the first time he contested for senatorial election. Having said this, we know Anambra North. When it comes to development in Anambra State, I would say it's the least developed area. Yes, Anambra North, it has about 7 local governments comprising Onitsha North, Onitsha South, Omaru, Ayamelum, Oyi, Anambra East, Anambra West. These are the 7 local governments constituting these. Because if you look around, the idea, if you go to Anambra East and West, especially West Anambra West, the Anam area, they need facelift. If you go to Ayamelum, they need facelift. If you go to Oyi, they need facelift. These areas, apart from Onitsha North and South and Obaru, probably urban area. The other areas, they need development. If you really go to Anambra East, comprising Aguleri areas, also they need facelift. And this area is riverine. But the point I'm trying to make is not somebody who would be egocentric. Because I'll be looking around. Of course, you can give it to Tony Nwoye. You will not say he hasn't done well. He has attracted roles, but mostly in his hometown. If you go to his hometown, you can compare his hometown to Alo. These are the 2 towns in Anambra State that have highest number of tarred roads. Alo and Tony Nwoye's hometown. These are the 2 towns. Having said this, Stella Oduah was pronounced the winner of the contestation. I saw the result, not the ones banded, because I looked at the results, the one brought by the party leadership, and I studied the results. No doubt she has large followers, but in this case, I feel that the party did not foist anybody or did not go for any candidate this time around, because in other senatorial districts, we saw party directing members to go for these candidates, as we saw in Anambra South, as we saw in Anambra Central. In Anambra Central, it was clearly the 0-1 game. In Anambra South, it was clearly Senator Imanwachuku game. But in Anambra North, it was pure contestation. Alex Opiobolu was immediate past political advisor to the governor. Stella Oduah, of course, he has her own link, because she was one of those the governor asked, join APGA. And for those who believe that, how can she come and join the party at the expense of those who had been with the party, who had shown loyalty? And who are these people? You talk about the former deputy governor, and they talk about Primus Odele. Opiobolu during the last election, of course, was in PDP. He only joined APGA when Soludo won, and Soludo asked him to come over and made him special advisor on political matters. Stella Oduah also joined APGA, even when she had been there before and left, defected, came back. And we are talking about the issue of party loyalty. But another thing is, who can challenge Tony Nwoye? Is another thing you must factor in all of this. I think maybe the party may have factored that in, because Tony Nwoye mercilessly beat Primus Odele last time. And remember, the obedient 12. You can also is a factor. And just like I did say yesterday, NDC will be having their primaries. Their primaries will be like selection. They have before now made it known to some people. These are the people the party will be aligning with, loyalists to P2B, but they did not shut the door that you cannot buy expression of interest form and nomination form. You can buy those things, but it's going to be what we saw in other political parties, because they are going to narrow their choice of selection to those who they believe will stand with P2B. Because as far as the southern, especially the southeast political structure is concerned, it was conceded to P2B by the leadership of NDC. He decides who goes and who cannot go. The point I'm trying to make is, Victor Bay, pencil down for Central. Tony Woye, pencil down for North. And then the point is, can any of these people challenge Tony Woye, who we believe will be the candidate of NDC? But Stella Oduah can challenge him. Can, amongst these people, in terms of supporters, in terms of finance, because they go, in terms of presence, in terms of experience, in terms of capacity. But the people will decide who will eventually be the senator of that very area.
Okay, so see, I come to you, going through the statement which was issued by Alex Obiobolu regarding this very primary election, the outcome. I'll just read the title of that very statement and then take a snippet from that. He's titled it Strengthening Democracy Through Party Integrity, Statement on the Anambra North Senatorial Primaries. If you look at what he highlighted, he said he joined APGA on an invitation to serve in the government, which Tony talked about. And he said he believed that they could work together to strengthen the party. But he is disappointed that despite clear guidelines which were issued by the party leadership to guarantee credible primaries, he saw, long-standing concerns about manipulation of internal electoral process, disregard for established procedure, and then actions capable of undermining confidence in democratic institutions. He said that all of them appeared during the primary. Now, number one question is, if you think that the party APGA favored any aspirant, and secondly, looking at who has emerged, do you think that the best among the equals took the nod from that party primary?
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. Repeating what my Oga has already said, because when you look at what happened in Onitsha North, Anambra North, you find out that there was an election. There was a primary, as in a party primary with APGA. And even before then, we all were debating. In fact, I was even thinking that Obiobolu may come second, before the primaries, because we're looking at him joining, being the political advisor and every other thing. And somehow, I don't know why I had that signal that he was going to contest for Senate, even though he didn't make it open. But he has been very loyal to APGA. Having said all these things, I want to first acknowledge that most times, whenever you have any contest, be it normal games or anything, people that do not win will always complain. And they will come up with the angle of things not being done the way it should be. And you find the winner saying that everything went on well. We saw it in the national level and state level. And every primary, apart from the people conceding and every other thing, when you sit with them, they will tell you that it wasn't fair. The only person that believes that every election is fair is the person that emerges the winner. So having said that, I want to first acknowledge that the candidates that were there, they were all strong. They were not greenhorns. They were people, whoever emerges from there would have challenged, would have been a very strong contender. But the beautiful thing we all should acknowledge also is that Anambra APGA has come to age. Over the period of time, they've developed. In fact, whoever is going to come to challenge any candidate from APGA should be very, very ready. Unlike the last 4 years, last 3 years, the election of 2017, right? No, 2023, right? That particular one, we saw a governor that is still interested in the next election who wrote a letter, and the pressure was so high. This particular period, we're not going to see that. We're going to see a man that will want to be in charge, a man that will want to make his mark on the national level, going to prove his own point, because after this, after staying in Anambra State, I don't see Soludo relocating back to America to go and retire. No, I see him still being very active, and he needs to prove himself in this particular election. And looking at who came out from APGA, I will say without any emotions or any sentiments that election is beyond looking at who have been there for a long time and who is just coming in now. The election we're going into, in as much as APGA knows that they have the ground, whatever, they don't want to give any room to any chances, So they want to win it from every angle. And Stella Oduah, if you ask any person in Anambra State, apart from having something to show over the period of time and being the person she is, she's been there. She has one good thing about people contesting over and over again is that they have reached a whole lot of areas. And this is the Senate she has done. She has been a senator for how many years? I think around 8 years, right? Yeah, she has been a senator. She's been there. And when you think about that, every particular election she won, she campaigned. She went from area to area. And when you look at people contesting with her, people that contested the primaries with her, you find out that these people, in as much as they are known locally, they still need to still build that web. In fact, if Senator Stella Oduah did not win, she, in the spirit of the party, should lend a hand the friends, the allies she has in that particular senatorial district. So I believe that if we want someone that will give a good run for the person that is the incumbent, who is Senator Tony Nwoye, you must be looking at Stella Oduah.
Okay, so looking at some reactions that had trailed the APGA primary election, concerns about how the election went in some areas. I know that APGA has rescheduled or has scheduled supplementary primary election in some areas, like in Dunikofe areas, the Nimus and co. And some persons who are meant to participate in the primaries, they have withdrawn, saying that from what they saw in the first run, they are not sure they are going to get anything fair in the supplementary election. So looking at the whole thing generally, is there anything you think that the party needs to fix? I'm talking about the outcome we saw from the primary.
Why we say that these are internal politics, it concerns all of us. The whole thing is that when people join parties, they always have their aim, they have what they are expecting from that particular party. And why you were doing that, like when you look at most people that if you go to that Dunikofe, from Dunikofe, by the way, you will find people erecting the billboard saying "Can they want to join?" It is let's rotate. And most times the incumbents, maybe their first time, or maybe they believe that they deserve to be there. You find them also contesting, and we don't have to sweep away completely party interest. Every party, be it from the time we know it from 1999, be it then PDP, be it the ACN, there is always somebody the party wants to win. And I'm telling you, this thing happening in APGA is a huge development. Huge development in the sense that, yes, party may be trying to play some role, but they are allowing it to play out itself. If the people are out, they can't manipulate a whole lot of things. So when people look at things happening and feel that it is unfair, first, we should acknowledge that it is something expected. It's something expected because a lot of emotions are sweeping to this. You find, take for instance, there's a particular area, a particular guy had a problem with the governor and went out on rampage. And when he decided to return to the party to run for the primaries, you heard a lot of statements he made over the social media. And when he found out that the direction has changed, you found him pulling out, coming back, saying he's doing this, being confused. So you look at it, though it's internal politics, I'm telling you, this is APGA building up, gaining weight, becoming what it should be, from Anambra State to the national.
Okay, talking about that supplementary primary election, it's going to hold today in selected wards in areas like Oka North, Oka South, Federal Constituency. You talk about the Ward 5, the Nibo, the NEMO. I'm not going to give out all the details, but just for you to know that today there is a supplementary primary election for APGA happening in some places. Now let's get to what happened yesterday. Tony, INEC finally has approached the Abuja Division of the Court of Appeal to challenge the Federal High Court judgment which nullified aspects of its guidelines for the 2027 general election. If we're going to recall what that judgment did, the judgment said that INEC has no right to shorten, the timelines, the windows provided by the Electoral Act of 2026. In that very case, that INEC was trying to shortchange political parties. It was the Youth Party of Nigeria that went to court to get that judgment, and now INEC has filed an appeal on 9 grounds. And one of the first things INEC is asking court is to, grant stay of execution of that very judgment. And as it stands now, it seems like politicians are on the, they are by the sides waiting to know what is going to happen, whether they're going to cross carpet or not. There's one former IGP who contested for governorship in Bauchi State. He has left APC, and all eyes are on him now to know whether he's going to, bank on this court judgment and move to another party, or whether they're going to weigh things. So now that INEC has gone to appeal court, Tony, what is the ground like politically? Can anybody still latch on this to defect, or they have to wait pending what the appeal court says?
Well, for me, you have to weigh the grounds upon which INEC is challenging the judgment of the Federal High Court as delivered by Justice Muhammad. It's important we looked at these things very, very well, and that's why we are here, to make sure that everyone understands the points we are making. And we know very well, just like you pointed out earlier on, the Youth Party, they were the one that took INEC to court, and the Federal High Court ruled that INEC exceeded its powers by shortening timelines already provided in the Electoral Act 2026 as amended, especially party primaries, submission of candidates' names, withdrawal and replacement of candidates, and publication of final candidate lists and campaign deadlines. INEC shortened some of the, and we know why things were the way they were. Recall INEC had given election timetable based on the provision of the law that election notification shall be about 350 something days, just a year to the election. But they did that, and it fell within a space where Muslims will be having their annual rituals, and they objected that this very period wouldn't be very convenient for them, that it fell within their fasting period, and as somebody who fasts may not be able to go all out to cast his votes, and for them they appealed to INEC for a change. After considerations, INEC put it to everyone that they can only make this change if provisions of the law will be amended. Instead of that 100 days publication, let it be shortened so that they can make this new publication so it will not violate the Electoral Act, which the National Assembly obliged them by amending that very area that talks about that the publication for or notification for election will be about a year. So they have to amend it, bring it down to about, it's something days or thereabout, so that they can make new publication. Having said that, that's the ground. But now the issue is INEC went all to start shortening every other part. And they did this to the point it affected Section 29 of the Electoral Act as amended, Section 31. It affected Section 32. Also affected Section 98. You look around, even Section 29, 82, and even 84, subsection 1, these sections were all affected. The Youth Party argued, and the court substantially agreed with the Youth Party, that the powers given to INEC under Sections 29, 82, and 84 to receive notices of party primaries, monitor primaries, and receive candidates' particulars do not extend to fixing restrictive timeline beyond the Electoral Act itself. That's what Youth Party argued. The court substantially agreed with them. And the last we talked about this, I was busy to explain the provision of Section 29. If you read Section 29 here, it's very imperative. I think the section itself is very, very vivid, conspicuous.
Tony, because where I'm going to is, for now, because the judgment was delivered at actually about a week or thereabout.
Yes.
We talked about it here, talked about the pros and cons, and the question we asked them was whether it was a lifeline for politicians or whether it's a booby trap. So now that INEC has appealed it, what does this portend for politicians? Is this still a window open for them, or at this point in time everybody has to operate with a handbrake?
Well, for me, it's a window open for politicians.
Yeah.
INEC has no grounds upon what I've seen, because the court rightly interpreted the sections. How can the law say that somebody should be given certain number of days and you go on to shorten it? It's just that. And INEC, look at the point of argument that youth party case was hypothetical. That's one. That the second, that they were not given fair hearing. That is two. And third, that the court ought to understand the exigency of time. I don't know if you look at this argument, INEC is trying to rely on technicality. Yeah, because these things they presented before the court as grounds for the appeal make no sense to me. It makes no sense, but I'm not going to be preemptive because court will decide. You want to, that's what we call in logic ochlocratic brandishment. Part of poetic subjuration. That's what INEC has just gone into or relying upon. You want to put the court to area of technicality. What do you mean that the case brought by youth party is hypothetical? What do you mean by saying that you are not giving fair hearing?
INEC is also questioning the local standing of youth party to bring that very case.
Is youth party not one of the political parties? Is youth party not affected by the changes? For the fact that you are affected by anything, you have locus. One, they are registered political party. They are not a political association. INEC grants are watery, empty. It's not a booby trap. I know why they appealed. You remember when we were making this analysis, I said they don't have any grant to appeal. That everything is black and white. That's what I said. But why they appealed is to catch those, to bring fear for some political parties that would want to postpone their primaries. They want to trigger that fear syndrome in them so that they would not rely on this judgment. They have no grants.
Okay, so Jose, what is going to happen? Because in the Electoral Act, I'm trying to remember the exact section. There's a section that specifies that all political parties are going to submit digital register of their members to INEC. And as of last count, as of May 10th, INEC confirmed that all the political parties had submitted that. That means that any member of these parties, his record is with INEC. So if they eventually begin to move to another party, I mean politicians who have contested, or rather, aspirants who have contested one primaries in one political party or the other, if they begin to leave their parties now and go to another party, what are the chances? Is it allowable in Nigerian law that any aspirant who has contested in the primary can go to another party, contest the primary again, or even pick up a ticket to stand for election? That's number one. Then number two is, how is it going to affect the entire equation of the register? Because of course, those who are going to leave, they are going to write their resignation, but their names is still on the database submitted to INEC.
Okay, yeah, one thing we know about the act is something that is internal, but the law is the law, and at the end of the day, all these things are interpreted by the courts. So if the court says that we have the right to move from here, because we remember when the Honorable Minister of Works, when he moved from, then he was in PDP and he moved to APC. There was a particular judgment that came that said that he should vacate that particular seat. But the court is supreme and the law of the land is supreme. They interpret all these things. INEC will always find an area to, pull one or two things. But the truth is, everything they are doing is bringing that mistrust from the people. people are seeing them as being players, being partisan in this particular issue. Because look at it, most times why people move, take for instance what is happening in ADC. Most times why people move is when things are not done the way it should be. And there should be something like giving people the second chance to prove themselves. So imagine that this particular law was existing some years back. Though that P2P did not join the PDP primaries 4 years ago. But it would have killed something like the Labour Party, because it means that P2P will not be eligible to still join Labour Party. And you find out that what Nigeria needs most is building trust towards this particular election. Because most people are seeing it as that we are seeing the signs that even INEC itself is compromised. And I don't know why INEC, as a body that is supposed to be neutral, as the referee, are still trying not to get people to understand that they can do something credible. Okay, for instance, if they say that everyone has submitted the forms, how can they tell me that the number of people that came out for APC, because it's still, it means that APC is one of the biggest political party in the whole world.
10.9 million.
Things like that, when you look at figures like that, it means that, to me, I think INEC is not trying in any way to make people understand that they want individuals to participate in this particular forthcoming election.
Okay, so Tony, aspirants who had participated in one party or the other as a primary election and they lost out, do they have a chance to move to another party, contest their primary, or get nomination and become the party's flag bearers?
They have, based on the judgment of the Federal High Court led by Justice Muhammad Omar. They have. There is no law that says that you cannot go to another political party to contest for primary having done so in another political party. There is no law that blocks it. There is no law that explicitly. What the law did was inadvertently or technically block you. How? Without even pronouncing it. For you to contest a primary in any political party, your name must be in the party's register as submitted by INEC. That's what the law says. And it was judged that if parties submit their registers within the same time, there is no way you will contest and leave and go to another party to contest, because by that time their name will not be in that register. That's the technicality. That's how you are bad. But the law did not pronounce that you cannot contest primary in one political party. Maybe you did not make it, you defect another political party to contest the same primary. The law did not say so.
So at ease now, parties had already submitted their membership register to INEC.
Exactly.
And then the judgment by the Federal High Court opens a window.
Yes.
So for those who had taking part in parties primary, like former IGP APGA Anambra thereabout in Nasarawa State, who has left APC. So if they decide to move to another party to pick up another party's nomination,
okay,
do they have the window?
He has the window. He can move from APC to probably to ADC. Let me use ADC. If he goes to ADC, and ADC, if ADC had concluded primaries for Senate, fine and good. Remember, there is also a window for replacement and substitution, as I cited earlier on.
So you mentioned eventually that his name is not in the register submitted by,
that is the point,
by the new party to INEC.
Now the point is this: look at what I'm about to make a conclusive point. INEC does not foreclose party registration. Party registration is an ongoing activity. That we have submitted our register to INEC does not mean it is the end of registration. No. It means that those who we are to contest for election within the moment we submitted are those eligible to contest. That's what it means. It doesn't mean parties can keep submitting their updated register to INEC each time they have election, but they must do that 21 days to the election, that is primaries. And what the Federal High Court has done now is to say the timeline for primaries will end in September. If a party has done a primary, parties has the power to cancel primary done. He has power to cancel already concluded primary and feel that it can reschedule it. We saw what happened in the case of APGA and Ahmed Lawan, where the parties had concluded primaries, produced candidates, but Lawan and APGA, having their links, went back to the party. Party fixed a different day for their own primaries. INEC challenged that, saying that we have already received candidates from you. How do we go on to remove these candidates and the one you did outside the time you gave us? Supreme Court ruled. It is purely an internal affairs.
They did that within the timeline provided for the activity.
That is what I'm saying now. And even INEC did not monitor it. And it was at that point that Supreme Court mentioned that INEC monitoring is observatory, not supervisory. Now, let me come back to what you said. By these judgments, party can dissolve or cancel any primary, so done. If appeal court will accelerate the appeal and possibly within a month, and if appeal court goes to the line of the federal high court, many political parties will cancel their primaries.
Okay,
and if they do so, what they mean is that they will schedule a new primary and give INEC 21 days notice where they have to submit their register again to INEC so that they will be able to do the primary, so that those who are eligible to contest will not violate the law within what the law has provided. I think this is very clear.
All right, so do you think that this can open a new vista of litigation? I'm talking about building on what is subsisting. I'm talking about registers already with the INEC, and somebody leaves his party where he took part in the primary, goes to another party, he resigned from the party where he did the primary, goes to another party, and then gets to register. But as of the time the register was given to INEC, his name was not there.
Yeah.
Do you think that he can open a window where people can go to court to contest or challenge the person's membership of the party as of the time the register was submitted?
Okay, I want us to keep the law and every other thing aside. We know what is playing out in Nigeria. Maybe we are being emotional about it, but we know that if whoever the powers, the INEC, do not want to see you on the ballot, and maybe you lost out in a particular party and moved to the other, INEC will now start to be a part of that particular party, insisting that this particular name will be there. So we are going to see a lot of court cases. It's going to be like the case of Amechi and Omehia. Of that, INEC will decide who they will field, and then the other party will go to court. I am seeing where even the parties will have a lot of issues when it comes to all these things, because, take for instance, some parties, like what we discussed earlier, some parties will know that a particular candidate will strengthen their viability when it comes to this particular election, and they may want that person in. And if you check what happened during that time of Senate president, that particular period, you find out that the people that were replaced they were aggrieved. They were aggrieved, and they went to court, but we know
to the
how
point
the power
of
was.
Supreme Court.
So, that kind of a thing, we are going to see a whole lot of it in this 2027. 2027 is going to open a lot of litigation, and like I would say, it's going to be a bazaar for the lawyers.
Remember, let me say this, because during the last election, we had what was common then placeholders, where some big merchants.
Not even just last election, it has been the case. Yeah,
it was prominent last election, where some people will go to this party and use some people to run for primaries. Those people will win the primaries. They'll become,
and hold it for
them, and they will go to a bigger party. If they lose out, they will now go to substitution and elimination as prescribed under Section 31 of the Electoral Act, because it gives parties window about 90 days to substitute or replace their candidates on certain criteria. Voluntary withdrawal, death, or these things are within the jurisdiction of the party. So parties are going to even make substitution and the elimination. But they have the time.
But like I said,
I think this time around, it seems that the Electoral Act has limited condition upon which a candidate can be replaced.
It has always been voluntary withdrawal, death. These are the two, because if somebody says I'm not running again,
you can't force the person to run. And there shouldn't be a vacuum in the party.
And there are people that will go and see. There are people, for them is business. They will go to some parties, they will get these things on platter, and they will even be asking you, come and take over, settle me.
Exactly.
Just settle me. If you give me the money I'm asking, I will tell the party I'm withdrawing voluntarily, and the party will make you the candidate. You settle me and settle the party. For people that are people is business. They are placeholders, and because the law of the Presidential Act allows it under Section 31, it has always been voluntary withdrawal and or a case of death or incapacitation as maybe medical records and all that. So, but the point is, it has always been voluntary withdrawal. You can't force somebody to run something.
Exactly.
Parties can utilize that. And situations where they want to do substitution, well, sometimes they may not even need to do another election, another primaries. They don't. It's just a question of internal processes. They will substitute and then bring in new person. But in the case of Alawan and Babio, they held different election and cancelled the former election. They wrote an INEC, we have cancelled the former election we did, the former primaries. And INEC said, you cannot. We have the details. You have uploaded it. And these things, you have been given a code. You have submitted it. The Supreme Court rules is purely internal as of the political party. They can remove, they can withdraw whatever they have submitted and replace it.
Yeah, look at what the Electoral Act says. They say that if you are going to substitute, it's going to be on two conditions: death of the candidate, then voluntary withdrawal by the candidate. Now, but it says that if that becomes the case, the party is going to go ahead, conduct a fresh primary within 14 days, and then submit the candidate name to INEC. It's no longer it is
an internal process, and that primary in view, just like I said, if I'm withdrawing, it's a business between me and you. It's your business, and INEC role is just observe. And where they don't even observe, it means no thing. They cannot block you from putting it. These things are well stated. But the point I'm trying to make here is this: the Federal High Court has said the issue of primary election will end on September. Parties can call for primaries to INEC. You cannot abridge it, you cannot shorten it, because Section 29 has provided that it's going to be 120 days or thereabouts. So you cannot abridge it. INEC challenge, look at their grants of challenge, which I said they are watery, empty, just to scare people not to move.
Okay, so we leave it that the court is going to decide on that very well. So let's quickly launch into this very one before we get to take this very commercial break. I'm talking about the kidnapping that happened in Oyo State, the abduction of school children. It's been lingering. That from what we get now, Oyo State government saying that they are going to do everything humanly possible to ensure that they get to ensure that people who were kidnapped are rescued and they returned safely. And from what we gathered, the abductors have reached out asking for ransom. And according to Vanguard report, the amount of money being demanded is not stated, but they are saying that third-party negotiations are ongoing. And federal government on its own is doing its part to ensure that they get to rescue these very children. But from what we have now, at the level we are now, what do you think is the way forward to ensure that these school children are rescued or recovered safely? Is it to pander to the demands by the abductors, perhaps pay ransom, or go all out and face these people squarely without minding if there is any collateral damage? I must say.
Yeah, I will tell you the fact. The system has failed, and if I will make it very short, so not to raise a lot of dust, I will tell you the fact is government should do everything they should. They failed from protecting these people from being, because the best protection is being out of the rain. The best protection is let this not happen, finding a way to stop it from happening. But because these people are involved, they must. I don't care what people say online about this. They should find a way to bring them back. Bringing them back should be paramount. Bringing them back, if Nigeria doesn't have the intelligence to ensure that these people return safely, they should do whatever they should do to bring them back alive. To me, bringing them back alive is the most important thing. It's not about acting commando at this particular point. And then sit down and ensure that this doesn't repeat itself again, because once whatever is done that is not about neutralizing those people, you've turned it into a business. If you are porous, another group will just do the same and make their demands. So the government has failed, and they should find a way to ensure that these people return safely.
So Tony, when you hear government say that the government will not spare resources just to get the victims back, that human lives are more important than money and ego, What does that mean?
Well, for me, it's just like what we used to tell the people often and from time to time, that you cannot spare resources and you cannot do this. This is paramount. Action is louder than words. Actions speak louder. These are mere rhetorics. For me, that's what it is. I believe in action more. If you are saying you're going to spare resources, we would want to see the kidnap victims out. And I've said it many times, in the presence of DSS, in the presence of police, in the presence of the military, in the presence of the Amotekun, this happened. And when I said earlier on, there are many ungoverned spaces, especially Oyo State. And I said Oyo State remains the biggest in terms of landmarks in the entire southern part of the country. I said these things yesterday. And also, impugn that what we saw is a sign of more to come more. The point remains, the government has cancelled all manner of social activities on the part of students and all that because of insecurity, because they cannot take charge of security.
It's a shame. It's a big shame.
That's why they are cancelling everything. And remember, security and welfare of the people, primary responsibility of the government. But that is one thing the government is failing. But I have said the way out of this is that we must bring security down to every community. How do we do that? It's not by the community policing, the Nigerian police force is shouting. Now what they are shouting or pushing out. They don't have the capacity. They don't have it. We must look inwards. I have given different examples. You don't centralize security, policing anywhere, especially a country like Nigeria with this amorphous nation and amorphous activities. Policing is local. And what makes it local is that the people will take ownership, supervise. That's why I've always called for state police, local government police, and town police. The last time I said something about this, and I said, even if it means me contributing 1,000, somebody said they are not going to contribute because we have the resources. But I'm saying, even as we speak now, go to different communities that are contributing money to their vigilante. Is it not true? You contribute money to your vigilante system where they cannot operate sophisticated weapon. They can only be allowed then gun and possibly pump action. What about where the communities contribute money to allow the vigilantes to wear and bear sophisticated weapon to go after these hardened criminals who come up with general machine purpose gun and so many things like that? Communities are paying money. If you don't know, no.
All right, so maybe on another day we are going to have this robust discussion on policing and security in Nigeria, because there is this very school of thought saying that we have too many arms now in different hands, and if they are not well managed, Nigeria might in the nearest future run into a bigger risk than we are in now, because we have different private security or outfits. They are all bearing arms, and it's, in some cases you get to hear that those arms are used for illicit activities.
Yeah.
How much more when you have many of them who are not trained, they come in and maybe they are dismissed, they go back to the trenches and begin to wreak havoc. So we have a whole lot in our hands, but now we are going to go for commercial break. Once we return, it will be time for us to open the phone lines, get in some callers before we see how much time we have to accommodate other things, because there is a report about Pope Leo making historic apology for the role played by the Vatican in slavery. These things are there. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Udala Radio, 104.7 FM.
Abajule, these people take too much for your face now, no?
Oh boy, I don't tire. Even the rashes and eczema for my body, if you see them, you go run. I don't try every soap and cream, but you know they come out.
No worry, when you take MSC Calskin C cream Hamaram, then go come out by force.
You say waiting, MLC Calskin C cream?
Bam! That be the new formula for take fight pimples, rashes, eczema, dandruff, boils, whitlow, ringworm, scabies, shaving rashes, foot rots and more. Just clean the affected part with soap and sponge and and rub the cream to enter the skin wella 3 to 4 times per daily, and everything will disappear within 3 days. Fiam! Now product of Jonko Ventures Nigeria Limited, number 780 Huaku Street, Wipa Layout, off kilometer 7 Onisha Owerri Road, Onisha. Phone 08033941979 or
09136855119.
MSC Caskin C Cream, War Against Skin Infections, African Gold Award winner 2011.
Are you looking for a perfect space to make your events unforgettable? From child dedications to weddings, concerts, birthday parties, crusades, or even corporate events. City Hall Entertainment Ventures presents City Hall, Awada, located at number 10 Ijala Street, near Ukewu Junction, Awada Obosi. With a 600 seating capacity, state-of-the-art stage, standard wash facilities, a massive parking space, 24/7 lighting, and proper ventilation and cooling system to keep your guests super comfortable. City Hall Entertainment Ventures, and even cooling equipment to make sure that all your drinks are chilled. For bookings and reservations, please call 0803-324-2806 or 0906-000-7617. Hurry now to number 10 Ijala Street, Awada for all bookings and reservations and get a 10% discount.
Attention schools, attention young champions. This Children's Day, it's time to think fast, speak boldly, and shine brightly. Udala Radio 104.7 FM Onitsha presents Children's Day Debate 2026. With the theme, Phones in Young Hands, Freedom or Risk? What's the right age for kids to use phone? Date, Wednesday, May 27th, 2026. Time, 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Live on Udala Radio. Open to primary 4 to 6 students across Anambra State. 12 schools, 6 exciting rounds, and only 3 champions. This is your chance to showcase brilliance, confidence, teamwork, and public speaking skills live before a wide audience. The event will be streamed live on Udala Radio and judged by an impartial team of professionals. Registration fee is 20,000 naira per school. Amazing prize gifts await the top 3 schools, plus other consolation gifts, items, and recognition for schools being represented. For more enquiries and registration, please call 0707-329-1750 or 0703-611-1998. Let's raise a generation that debates, decides, and drives change.
Hello. From the heart of Udala to your happy place.
Broadcasting live
from Anambra to diaspora. Everybody sing up.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM.
Udala they shine 24/7 with it online. If you they look for better sound, tune in, make you no rewind.
Your day just got better right here.
You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
Maybe you would have put the microphone on for you to hear the the analysis behind the analysis, because if you said that one where the sweet pass, when you are listening to Udala Radio 104.7 FM, and this is the Polity. My name is Franklin Ebeka, Tony Lisambeki, and the Uzioma Nieto. They are on the analysis desk. And before we take your calls, just a correction that needs to be made based on a remark that was made earlier. So we'll get to that correction before we take your calls, Tony.
All right, quickly, because I wanted to correct the fact that the person that contested the general election, Anambra North, was Tony Woya against Ebele Obiano, the wife to the former governor, not Primus only. Primus was defeated in the primaries to that election, so APGA had Ebele as a candidate, but they did run off many times. The first one, the second one, at the end of the day, the wife of the former governor won, and she was the candidate of APGA to that election. So Primus was defeated at the primaries, but now Primus was also defeated at the primaries again. So 2 defeats.
All right, so let's go to the phone lines now. 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. Please, when you call in, like I do tell you all the time, articulate your point, make your point, and then drop your call. Please do not repeat yourself. Good morning.
Hello.
Yes, you're welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Frank.
Good morning.
And Mr. Tony Sambeki.
You're welcome.
And the other analyst, he said Uzoma.
Ozioma.
Ozioma.
Yes.
Good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning.
My name is Maroke, you come from Monitor. So I'm talking about insecurity in the country, just like what Mr. Speaker said. I like my thought what he said. It's only state police that can help this country because the policing system in this country has been politicized. That is why sometimes when you see a very important call that the police are supposed to switch to make bring security to a particular place, you will hear an order from Abuja. Okay, at the top. It's not supposed. We saw that we had that when Norton was the governor of the state and so many places. So no matter how anybody is viewing this politically, and the governors will use it against, to me it's rubbish. My security is number one. So whatever political interest that they have. So they must bring that security even down to the local government. Honestly, it is very important. Just like what Mr. Speaker said. Even if you are going to be paying maybe monthly 1,000, it is good because I am paying as well to the vigilante group, which I know that they are policing nothing. In the night they will go to sleep, but I'm paying that money. So even if we are paying, it doesn't mean anything. Some big companies can even, after paying their taxes, there will still be security levy for them to pay. As long as we get it right. Please, security is number one.
Okay.
So I support bringing down the policing system. Then, before I end up talking about the particular amendment, the judgment coming from the Federal High Court. The way Mr. Speaker said it is way it is. But why I'm afraid on that particular judgment is that I know who Trump and APC are. They can use that particular judgment to play games. That is why I want the political parties who are interested, they must finish their primaries in this timeline INEC brought out. Then after that, there is still time because I believe that the national law is supreme. There is still time for you to solve.
All right.
It is constitutional. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Mary Kay. Hello, good morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Honorable Chief Tony Orisambeki.
You're welcome.
Good morning.
You're welcome.
To the house.
Yeah, good morning.
Honorable Mayor Okufume JP Okulolo Chenton. Can I go on?
Yes, go on.
Yes, please. I am still hammering about this adopted little children and the teachers. That the government know what to do about these people to release. It's really simple. Think about mosquitoes and all these ants and scorpions. In fact, I always feel for these people. Even my very self that is in my house, I know the way I struggle with mosquitoes. Then think about it. But all the politicians now are focusing on primary 2027. Is that the way to go? Well, I am pleading to the government to release these people and asking them. I have said it before. The government are not serious, and that is why these things are going this way. Because you can't tell me, had it been that we made a very strict measure that will contain these people and executives, and they stop paying all these ransom and so on and so on, but go after them. This thing cannot be going this way. Well, I pray that God help these innocent children so that they will be free. Thank you, and God bless you all.
All right, thank you. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Your name?
My speaker, good morning.
You're welcome. It's good to have you.
Mr. Franklin, good morning. And also our guest, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
This is Akamele. Yeah, and Akamele is calling right now from Figgy.
Go on.
From Figgy.
Yes, we can hear you. Go on, sir.
So I want to just react on this Oyo kidnappers. This student that was kidnapped at Oyo. I just want to say something here. I think federal government know what they are doing. If you ask me to say, I will tell you that the federal government know what they are doing. Why? Why did I say so? If they can locate Nnamdi Kanu where he was in Kenya, and they could arrest him there and brought him back to Nigeria, I think they know what they are doing.
You remember what happened at Edo State when Peter Obi went to that campaign there? You know, either inauguration or there, but I don't know what. Okay, somebody defected to ADC. They went there. Remember the attack there, and that person from River State said that it is their people, their men are not missing the target. That when he come there, immediately the man was arrested. They didn't know the man, but they can locate that man. My speaker, if you open your gadget, maybe if you enter Facebook and you post something, the location where you are, send that in, immediately will show on your gadget. And these people are sending something on Facebook and sending something, and their location are the same. And the federal government will tell me that they don't know where these people are. I don't think these people are serious. And you know, okay, think about it. If the president, it is his son, Sheyi, is there in their captivity, will he be campaigning, going for GDC? These people are not serious at all. That's why, you know, on this election, we are going to show them that, you know, wherever people be is, that is where we are going. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Akamera, for joining. Good morning. Hello.
My name is Comrade Walsh, and I'm calling you from Onitsha.
Comrade, go on.
Thank you very much. You see, I'm still concerned. I'm still worried over the continued, you know, captivity of innocent children. Of course, I'm a father, and you know what it means for your child of 2 years to be held by criminals. I want to urge federal government of Nigeria, please go and borrow money and release those children. Just go and borrow. Even if it means dipping your hand into that money you saved for Tinubu's campaign under the custody of both of them, that's 800 billion. Dip your hands there, go and release those children. And that brings us back to the issue of state police. Tinubu ensure implement this state policing, you know, issue. At least the primary responsibility of every government is the protection of life and property of each citizen. Yesterday, Gumi was speaking on behalf of the Nigerian Bandits Association, a dangerous syndicate that have milked this country to the tune of trillions in kidnapping business. Gumi was speaking on their behalf, telling federal government to give them amnesty, to reintegrate them into the society, to pardon them, you know, to rub powder on their faces, to spray some perfume on the. Gumi is still working out freely. There is something Gumi knows federal government of Nigeria doesn't want to tell us. Gumi has in the past alleged that the federal government knows these people, these criminals. Till today, federal government of Nigeria, under the leadership of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, have not come out to refute that claim. Yet today, Gumi,
okay, summarize, please.
I'm running up. He's still reiterating his call for the federal government of Nigeria to continue to spray perfume, to rub powder on these bandits. So I want to urge federal government of Nigeria, Tinubu and their city boys and their APC primary 45 million votes. Please dip your hands into that money you made for Tinubu's campaign. Release these children for goodness sake.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. There's a report coming in now that the Federal High Court in Abuja has ruled that former President Goodluck Jonathan is eligible to contest the 2027 presidential election. Of course, we know that somebody filed a suit trying to say that by virtue of the oath of office he took, that he's been barred from contesting, but the court has ruled that that is an abuse of court because a court had years ago dealt with that very issue. Good morning. Okay, try again. Let's see. 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Speaker.
Your name?
My name is Honorable Chiwubu. I come from Agriculture.
Go on, sir.
I want to talk I too much emphasize on this issue of that state police issue concerning the security here in Nigeria. I heard what Tony Sambeke said, but from my own idea, I know that security is paramount, but I don't think that our state police will help to fight terrorism. Rather, more crimes like kidnapping and criminology and other things. So concerning the issue of terrorism, state police can do nothing there because of the type of gun they have been assigning to. Remember that all these terrorists are using guns and bombs, and how can police combat them? Why?
Okay. Hold on.
Yeah?
Okay, so what's your concept of state police?
I mean that the idea is the state police will only fight or only something like criminal or kidnapping activities and minor things. But concern the terrorists, I don't think that they are going to combat them because this is an international something. That's what I want to say there.
All right. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Tony, technically, no, there's a time I said we'll find a day to discuss that so that we'll be able to explain all these things in total. So, we'll take note of that for everyone. Hello. Okay, let's see. One more call before we head to our Facebook page. Good morning.
Good morning. Franklin.
Yes, good morning. Your name?
Hello, Lisambik. Good morning. Udala Radio. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Calling you from Onitsha.
Okay, go on.
Okay. The issue of kidnapping and the children, and we are talking of primary elections. Is this not enough for all the states, for all the government entities to keep short? Because this is children, this is kids, this is small kids that are being kidnapped, and we are talking of politics. So that means Nigeria is not even care of the people they are leading. Because in a developed country, such things shouldn't happen, and we are talking of election, we are talking of primary elections, where some people, take for instance, if it were you or me, that your 2-year-old child was kidnapped, and the government are not doing anything, because it doesn't affect them. Because if it affects them, they wouldn't have been doing other things. They're supposed to suspend everything, election for today, tomorrow, until those people are released. I think that shows the compassion that they are feeling, they have feelings of those people that have been kidnapped. They can see small children. It's very appalling, it's very bad. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Brazo. So let's go to our Facebook page quickly now. From our page, we have a Paul Nerubianago who says, okay, he agrees that the INEC grounds of appeal is watery. The INEC grounds for appeal are watery. Hence, the reason they are trying to apply technicality to see if something can be fashioned out in their favor. And he says INEC should live according to her mandate or be independent and neutral as an unbiased empire. They should allow Nigerians to breathe by doing the right thing. Obiawi Ketu Christopher from Abatan Subwe says, okay, talking about, correction about the Primus Odley thing. I think that has been noted. So let me now dash to the part where he says that what we should start comparing now is Stella Oduah's 8 years and Senator Dr. Tony Nwoye's 4 years, and he says the difference is clear. Ajomiwe Kelechi says INEC should concentrate more on delivering credible election than fighting political parties, and he says the Anambra governor should pay more attention to things that matter. There should be surveillance cameras that will cover every state in Nigeria, thereby exposing criminalities in Nigeria. Nzekwa Celestin says kidnapping has become a lucrative business in Nigeria, so bringing these children back alive is the most important thing at hand now. Come to think of it, we were even told that a 2-year-old child is involved. If they want to play politics, let them arrest people like Gumi who are sympathizers of terrorists and not with the lives of these children. Are trying to shorten your post so that I'll be able to accommodate more people. Udala Radio says Anambra North Senatorial election is going to be hottest senatorial election coming 2027. However, it is not the former deputy governor that contested for the senatorial primary. and his elder brother, the former Minister of Transportation for State, Emeka John Ekechukwu, that contested that very primary. And he says, meanwhile, hope the present president in the Senate come out victorious. Okay, he posted from Umar Banam. Dr. Mrs. Molebra from Ore says, why is Wike playing God? I want to remind him that those the gods want to destroy, they first make mad. I also want to remind him that power is transient. You have it today and tomorrow is gone. Whatever we do today becomes history tomorrow. And history has a way of judging our actions and inactions. And she says, Wike, know thyself. I read it the way she wrote it. Dan Dollar says he posted from Awada. Okay, he said this Tinubu administration has failed us and we should accept it. How can you be going around doing primary elections and our children are in the bush? Then Amara Michael says he's Obuefi Mike from War, and he says, okay, Tony, do you believe that Wike, Tinubu and INEC will allow Supreme Court to do the right thing in this very case? Okay, Omagana Mane Francis, watching from Magunze, says the party primary should have been centered on merit rather than consensus candidacy to entrench good governance, equity, fairness, and justice in Nigeria's political landscape. Young Obey says, to know the attitude of corrupt people in Nigeria, politics is obvious. That's what he wrote. Jennifer Sunday says, I don't know where my... Okay, maybe she's asking, she doesn't know where she's going to go and register for ongoing voter registration. I believe that if you have to check INEC office in your local government, and also they have office, they also have a registration point within communities, so you can make inquiries there. Master B says leadership style in Nigeria is like do or die affair. If you don't belong to a certain group of people, nothing for you. I still encourage our youth to attend party meetings in their constituency or ward. He posted from Onitsha. Then Oluchi Chima says, I want to ask, did Stella Oduah forget anything in that Senate House? She was there for many years. What did she do with it? I say, okay, she's saying that Tony Moore is just there for 3 years. Jacob Bishop says, pertaining to INEC going to challenge the court judgment, we all should be aware that the court will always do the biddings of the government. So for me, if the court judgment was against the plan of the government, I foresee the next judgment going in favor of INEC. And the last one I'm going to take this very morning is from Eko Gunners, and he says he joined the people of Ogidi in their plea to the governor to do something about the bad place they have in Ogidi. So we're going to take it from here. So Tony, can we do this in 1 minute? Clarity about state police. Somebody said they will not be allowed, okay, they can't carry arms that will be able to match whatever terrorists have.
Well, I think you are talking about arms. Most times, winning any battle is not a function of one thing. It's a collection of different things. We have said here, we have ungoverned spaces. The police we have, they are not in my community. They are not in many communities. You can't even cite one of them. And we've seen situations where these havocs are done at the community level. And we said we want to bring in men that will be stationed at these communities all the time. Whenever there is movement, they'll be able to detect movement. And we said communities are going to bring these people from their own. And somebody is saying you don't, because of politics, you don't want governors to do this with these people or do that. It's not about the governors. When you say state police, it's just one. You also have local government police. You also have the town police. Because the town police will be supervised by the PG and the members of the community. The local government police will be supervised by the local government and members of the community. The state, of course, they will have little role because the major work will be at these communities and towns and local governments.
Sorry, you mentioned PGs and my mind ran to somewhere. Sorry, I have to say this. You know, we have a trend whereby when somebody finishes as a governor, he goes to the Senate.
Yeah.
It's like the next thing in the Southeast now is if you finish as a PG, you contest for House of Rep or Senate.
Yeah. That's what is going on because some of the mayors are going for House of Rep.
Or if the PG is going, I think also the PG is also contesting, then Wachuku, former PG of his town. So perhaps that's the news.
Apart from that, frankly, mayors, local government mayors, many of them are going for House of Reps. Some of them won. The point we are making is this: forget politics. Say, let's bring security. Look at 2 years children everywhere, and somebody is bringing sentiment of politics.
Okay, so Ozi, how do you summarize, and also having in mind that we have seen parties having primary election, what they call direct primaries, and what we have been seeing seems to be like a slap in our face. Perhaps our children will begin to learn how to count 1, 2, 20, and 100.
Yeah. So I think I say that after 2027, every Nigerian will be given a PhD in political science, because what we are seeing here is not taught anywhere in the whole world. I see an abuse, but the good thing is that it is done like I think I enjoy this particular format brought about by the Electoral Act, where we took the primaries to the wards, unlike the other days we see the delegates going to do their thing, and all these things leads to the maturity of our political system, because this is going to be a conversation. It's already a conversation. People are talking about it. Even what we saw in Anambra State as the conclave, once we are talking about all these things, all of us are being politically involved, and it's going to, at the end of the day, make or mar the whole system. But I pray and I believe that it's going to make us stronger.
Okay, so on that very note, I thank every one of you for joining today's program. Thank you, Uzema Neto, for joining us.
My pleasure.
And thank you, Tony Risambeki, for also being on the analysis desk. And for everyone who joined this program, either virtually or terrestrially, we quite appreciate all your input. Tomorrow is going to be another edition. And tomorrow, Wednesday, 27th May, is Children's Day. Of course, we have a program here. So to all the children, of course, tomorrow is already a public holiday.
Tomorrow and next tomorrow is Idu Kabiru. I think the idea of public holidays is not because of Children's Day.
It's not for children. It's for the celebration of Eid al-Fitr. Yeah. Exactly. But the thing is, it's also good thing that coincided. All right. So thank every one of you for listening. My name is Franklin Ebuka. Good morning.